Welcome to the Sports Resort,
the People's Sports Show. Real talk unfiltered. With your host, Garrett Jonkins.
D-Junk, everybody, reporting live from the Sports Resorts. As today, we got Mikela on today, y'all. She's a coach at the Eastern Michigan University. That's how you pronounce it? Eastern Michigan University?
Yeah,
All right, boom.
Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, actually, I've been there, right, a few times on a tour, right? Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you. I need to post some pictures. We did a whole tour of that school. It was actually not far from where I was working at in Novi, Michigan. I told you it was only 25 minutes apart.
Yeah.
But Mikela, I had the opportunity actually to train Mikela when she played at the at Vanderbilt University, who actually just beat Bama today. I know you probably did a cartwheel, backward flip.
Anchor down always.
Yeah, I had the great time, man. And, the blessing to be able to train her. Hard worker, girl is ripped up. Hard working. Play lacrosse at a high level, which a lot of girls want to get to that level. Can you give me a quick rundown? Quickly, how does lacrosse recruiting work? Right? Because I get kids, parents, they play on these clubs, and a lot of them don't know. A lot of people. That's what weirds me. A lot of them have no clue how the recruiting works. How does lacrosse recruiting work?
Yeah, so lacrosse is kind of unique, I would say, in how we do things in the lacrosse world. So there's a recruiting period where we're not allowed to contact kids to reach out to them until September 1st of their junior year. So this year for our recruiting cycle, it's the 2026 class because they're juniors. So, we've been reaching out to them. And kind of before that, best thing to do is, go to all the recruiting tournaments, get your club coaches a list of, the top 15 programs that you really would want to go to. Start emailing them, attending their recruiting camps, just making sure you're getting FaceTime in front of these coaches and places and people that, you want to be involved with, right? Because it's all about connections and who you know and making sure that, you are someone too who has good things said about you from coaches. Because as what I've learned as transitioning from, being a club lacrosse coach, high school and stuff, to now being a D1 lacrosse coach, we as coaches at the D1 level really do listen to what the players, coaches, and club coaches say about them, right? We've had coaches reach out to us and be like, hey, this person's interested. I honestly don't think you should take them. They're not a good culture kid. They're not a hard worker type of thing. So kind of everything, right? Always be doing the right thing and making sure that you're, constantly in people's sights. Cause right, they don't know you if they can't see you is the whole thing. And sending emails, pre-tournament being like, hey coach at blah, blah, blah school, I'm coming to this tournament on this day and here are my game schedule. Really interested in your school, would love to see you and all that. Is kind of how I approach. But kind of from my recruiting process was a little different because, I don't know, lacrosse wasn't a Texas hotbed at the time. And we had.
What high school did you go to, McCauley? You went to Kincaid also?
Yeah, I went to Kincaid.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to go to Kincaid and we won the SBC championship my senior year, and we just had a great group of great girls on that team, hardworking kids. From Texas at the time, we had 5 kids on that team go D1, which was really rare. That was pretty much half of all of the people in the state of Texas that were going to play in college, which was super cool. But just making sure that you get FaceTime in front of people, right? Because it's about, we just need to see you is the biggest thing. And what I've learned too is my first kind of recruiting cycle being on the opposite end of being the one recruiting people is just, clear communication too, what your intentions are. If you have a timeline, when that timeline would be, and just making sure that it's open communication 2 ways, right? I don't want to get a kid to school that isn't 100% committed to coming to Eastern Michigan, and vice versa.
Gotcha. And that's a big thing I try to tell a lot of parents and kids that you got to make sure when you send when y'all going to school that it's going to be a good fit, because everybody can't go to Eastern Michigan. I mean, it started getting cold up there and you don't see the sun for 6 months.
Yeah.
You started looking where's the sun at, right? Because Michigan is cold. So I always tell people you got to make sure your kid and you got to make sure you can see them going to that school and staying there, right? Because lacrosse is a little different, I'm guessing. It's not like football where everybody's hopping in the transfer portal, going all over the place. Most kids, I'm guessing, probably stay where they at, right? It's just So I always say that, and I tell I always try to tell a lot of coaches that, because coaches reach out to me, hey, D-Junk, think this kid coming? I'll be like, dude, it's too cold there, man. That kid don't even own a jacket. He or she gonna get there and they gonna be barbecue chicken in about 2 days and they transferring, bro. So don't even go. So I tell a lot of parents there, have a plan, right? Have a plan in place where you can see your kid or that kid can see himself staying there, right? Because
Yeah.
lacrosse is not like football. It's not all this money thrown at you to go transfer. So you can see yourself there. And also, on the flip side of it, make sure they have your degree plan of what you want to do. And the way, if you want to do this, they have that there. And you kind of straight line. And too, like you said, stay in front of the coach's communication. Make sure that coach and that school fits you, right? And that person is communicative, and they fit you. I know you're a workout person. You're gonna work out, stay in shape, and things like that. And that way, you know what, man, my coach stays in shape. I mean, she played, lacrosse at Vanderbilt, so I can fit with that, right? Versus some coaches don't work out like others. I don't know if I'm gonna fit this. They not talkative and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a good fit for me. I'm quiet. They quiet. Talking. So I try to tell a lot of people, make sure it's a good fit to where you're going, and you can see yourself staying there. Being cold, hot, or whatever. Right? We don't have lacrosse college here in Texas, so in Houston. But if we did, I mean, it's 100 degrees here in the summer. So if you come from Michigan, coming to Texas, it's like, ooh, I'm gonna better deal with walking outside and being 102 for 3-4 months straight. So that's a good thing on that. So how did you who put a stick in your hand? How did you get a lacrosse stick? Because like I told you a while ago, my daughter doing every sport you can name. I haven't put a lacrosse stick in her hand yet. 'Cause I'm trying to figure out when I got a 30 minutes to do that. Who put a lacrosse? How did you get playing? How did you start playing lacrosse?
Coincidentally enough, me and my dad were driving home from, I think I was playing tackle football at the time.
Oh Lord, you
And
playing tag. I can see you
yeah,
doing that
and
shit.
my parents were like, "You're getting into fifth grade. We're done with this. Like, people are getting too big. You're gonna get hurt." So we drove. We were on the way back from a game, I think, and we like saw the lacrosse youth program practicing, and just like on a random field, like we literally drove by. And we were like, "Oh, what's that?" And then we found out that was lacrosse. And one of my neighbors that I grew up with, he was 4 years older than me, so he had already been playing, and he was in like middle school at the time already, and so he had been already familiar with it. And I, played with him in the backyard. And then I was like, oh, I kind of want to do this. And I got my best friend, Lucas, to sign up with me. And the rest is history. So I'm really thankful that, I was playing soccer, was doing one of the, like clubs where it's like you're partnered with the Houston Dash or whatever, and you're playing and it's super intense. And I just kind of lost my love for the game of soccer at a young age because of the coaches and just kind of how soccer and clubs like that were ran. So it was really refreshing to get something that, similar to soccer, right? All the running, all the shooting, like same positions, right? Just in the air. So I thought it was super cool and something that translated well from my knowledge of soccer to lacrosse.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And you made a great point right there on coaches, right? I tell people, and I just had this conversation the other day. I tell people, educators and coaches can make the biggest impact on a young person's life early on. A lot of people don't realize that, like early on when kids first start playing sports. I tell people, educators and coaches, man, and I'm streaming this to the top of the line. You can make a big impact on the kid, either positive or negative. And I tell people that every day, even my daughter playing sports, and I kind of sit back a lot. A lot of people don't know what I do. And then sometimes I got to like throw my weight around like, hey, I've been doing this for a long time at a high level. I think, they need to have a little, it needs to be a little different vibe out here because if this kid is 9 to 10 years old and they want to do this long term, they have to look forward to going to it every day,
Yeah.
right? If not, they're gonna be like, it's a bad experience. So all my young coaches out there, coaches coaching at the club and the youth level, man, make it a good experience for those kids because you never know, man. You can bad experience. They can go do something else, and vice on. Just make it a good experience for them. Because remember, they're 9 and 10 years old. They're not signing professional at 10 years old. They're not getting those scholarships, right? So it has to be, of course, you keep it. If it's competitive, keep it fun. And if you win and want to win, cool. But make that experience good, right? They mess up, critique them. Hey, this is why I took you out. Blah blah blah. But don't sit a kid in the middle of the game and you don't tell them what they did wrong. They like, dude, I don't want to do this no more. Who wants to do that, right? Like, so
Yeah.
coaches out there keep it fun and everything. So boom. So you start playing, you take off with it. I'm guessing you just start playing club. You at
Yeah.
Kincaid, they have a good team there,
Yeah.
and you go on, boom. So how did you end up at Vanderbilt playing lacrosse there?
Yeah. So, actually
So
kind of
coming out,
crazy.
what schools could you went to? What colleges could you go into?
I decided that when I wanted to play lacrosse, this was pre the September 1st rule that's now in effect. So I was playing boys lacrosse until high school and hadn't ever played girls until high school.
So you
And
like girls lacrosse? What is this? I
yeah,
can't just keep playing with
so
the
I had
boys.
no idea. It's similar, but there's a lot of intricate rules in the women's game that are very different, right? Because you're not padded up, you can't hit people, you can't just shoot in front of someone's face and all that. So the adjustment at first was kind of like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing. But once I got, set there and transitioned over, was like, all right, this is what I want to do. And this is super fun, right? Like I still, even though I'd been playing lacrosse since fifth grade, I still had the passion. And it was something where I would be looking forward to, getting home from school every day to go and like play in the backyard and just like, do the grind and just like get better. Cause progress it's addicting. And that's why
It
we're
is.
athletes
It
and that's
is.
why what we do. And so, yeah. And kind of how I ended up at Vanderbilt was I
Cause you
actually
gotta have good grades too. So I'm guessing you was a low key nerd.
no, yeah,
I
I
mean,
was
everybody can't go to Vanderbilt. Like a
yeah,
friend of my daughter plays volleyball there now, and my nephew plays football there, and they like, oh, academic stuff,
yeah. No, it's
I,
definitely a hard school, and you've got to get it done in the classroom too. But I don't know. My misconception with I was originally actually supposed to go to Dartmouth freshman year.
oh, you're a super nerd. Hey, give me the nerd emoji coming down, everybody.
Nerd alert!
She could have went to Dartmouth. Oh my God, you way out of my grade. I was reading the sports section in school every day. I'm like, hey, teacher coming to me, hey, sports section. What it says, sports. Okay, boom, keep going.
Yeah. So I don't know. Kind of obviously, a school like a Harvard, an Ivy League school, a school like Purdue, one of a Vanderbilt, those high achieving academic schools. While they are hard and hard to get into and all that, you also are helped a lot with being your sport, right? They recruit you, they get you, they pretty much can guarantee your admission, right? Unless you really get to senior year and you don't lock in and you are having a super senior year vibe where you're getting C's, and then you might have an issue. But as long as like you are getting A's and B's, you can go. Like my misconception was, oh, I have to be a straight A student and a genius to go to an Ivy League school, and that's not the case for an athlete, right? But if you weren't playing lacrosse or weren't playing whatever respective sport, getting into an Ivy League and Vanderbilt very hard. Obviously, like acceptance rates are low, but lacrosse and your sport is such a tool to get you in. So I would say don't let a school with a big academic name hold you back if you would be interested in there. Because at every school too, there's so many good resources. Like at Vandy, there's academic advisors for each team sport. There's tutors that you could get. Like if I was struggling with a class, we'd get tutors. I'm staying here at Eastern Michigan, right? Our girls, we have tutors for them. Some of them are in Excel class and they're like, we need a tutor. So we get them a tutor. So there's a way someone's going to help you out, right? No matter what level of academics it's at. It's just making sure that you find a school where you want to go and like you could see if you had to take away your sport and you got told you could never play again, would you want to be there at the end of the day is the most important question. And two, when you're visiting, like the saying will be, you just know when you know will be told to you. And you don't understand that until you're at the place where you're like, okay, I get it. Because I had been getting recruited by Northwestern, a couple other places and all that, like pretty seriously. And I was thinking about going there over Dartmouth and other schools. And kind of my main decision was how Daniel Spencer at the time, who was a Dartmouth head coach, treated me and was not pressuring me to make a decision. You know what I mean? She understood that I wanted to wait and see things through. And was waiting for that, and whenever the time was right, I gave her my commitment and all that. So just making sure that if a school is pressuring you doing something, it might not be the best fit, and I just think that's something to take into account, especially right because like you said, a coach and the program can make such an impact on your life as a whole. Because I just think about I was blessed with great coaches my whole life, and that's why I wanted to be a coach so that I could continue to do and serve people like I was served. And that's why you're into it and why you have such a vast network of athletes, right? Like you stick together, you understand what it's not easy, right? If it was easy, everybody would do it. Not everybody wants to wake up at 5 a.m. to go lift weights and then run, right? Like not everybody wants to, but it's just making sure that at the place you decide you can see yourself going there for every single aspect of your life. And right, because like sports are a big part of who I am, a big part of who you are, but it's not the whole picture, right? You're not just a strength and conditioning coach, right? You have all this other stuff that you do. So it's very important to not limit yourself and thinking about, I'm playing football, I know I'm going to go to the NFL. And yeah, you might go to the NFL, right? But let's say it doesn't, you still need a backup plan. So just
Correct. That's
keeping
true.
that
That's
into
true.
consideration.
That's true. So what did you get your degree in at Vanderbilt?
It is most closest to a business degree. It's called Human and Organizational Development, which is kind of pre-consulting and like HR, and then I minored in
Did
business.
you get your master's too? Or you
No, just
okay.
did it. Yeah, just took 5 years to finish undergrad, but
Got you, got
so
you.
it was a good, great major, pretty much like business education or like
But you
business
knew you
comp.
wanted to go into coaching, right?
Yeah,
Because
I actually didn't.
you did?
How I figured out I thought I wanted to be an investment banker, and I did 2 internships um in banking, and I dreaded going to the office every day and
Okay, so
sitting
let me stop you right there. So that's a good point. Like I try to tell a lot of people, right? You did the internships and you knew like, okay, let me do the internship, see if this works for me, and you're like, okay, all right, yeah, this is not me. I'm not feeling it. So I always try to tell a lot of kids out there to do internships to see if that's something you want to do before you go into it, right? Because I tell people it's the worst, it's one of the worst feelings in the world. You go into a career, right? You went to school your whole life and you go into a career after college and you work there 2 or 3 years and you're like, golly, I hate going to work, right? Or I don't like this, right? And then you switch. So it's a good thing that you did an internship so you knew, okay, all right, this is kind of boom. So boom, after an internship and you realize that's something you didn't want to do, investment banker. In rich reality, I cannot see you being an investment banker doing that. It just
yeah,
don't
it's
flow.
not who I am, which is
Yeah,
what
it
I
just don't
figured
flow for
out.
you, right?
So
I just can't
yeah.
see you doing that, right? So boom, you do that and you don't realize that. So then what? How did coach come in play?
So I actually at Vanderbilt, I had to medically retire 3 games into my junior year from having concussions, and that's how we met. I had a bad concussion, and I was trying to get back, and I was like, I need someone to whip me into shape quick, fast, and get me strong. And you had trained other people who like I played lacrosse with Ramsey McCreary for a hot second on our club team in middle school, and I saw that you trained him. He was one of the top players in his class.
Yeah,
So I was like,
Ramsey's a beast.
yeah, so I was like, D-Jock knows what he's doing, and that's someone that I want to come and help me from like coming back from injury, right? Because it's a lot harder to come back from injury than like you think, and it's mentally tough, it's physically tough.
Yeah,
You're just not your bar and your standard for yourself. You're not meeting it, and it's frustrating at first.
true.
So that's how I got to meeting you and all that, but. So once I had to medically retire, I was obviously like very upset and just I didn't know that my last lacrosse game was gonna be my last lacrosse game, and I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
had
hey,
left.
it's tough, man. I tell people, even when I
Yeah,
played ball in college, I had to stop. Man, it was tough for a while. It's like you get depressed. You like, God, you hold a lot of stuff in.
yeah,
But it comes joy once you find your next step in life. So I tell
yeah,
people the quicker you find the next move, the easier the relief is. Just my opinion. I'm the same way. After football stopped, I wasn't the coaching. I'm
yeah,
like, all right, I can't. I think it was my grandmother. My grandmother's kind of old school, hardcore. She tell you straight up, like, "Hey, boy, you better suck it up and get man up." Like she was old school, like, I ain't none of that. And I knew I wanted to go back and I wanted to go in coaching. I'm like, all right, boom, this the route I'm going. So I transitioned quicker than most guys I know. I call it post sports syndrome. I don't even know if that's a real word or something, but after it's over with and you play D1 ball, you like stuck. Like you like, all right. And some people it lasts for years. Like, and some people
yeah.
it doesn't last enough. So boom, you knew that after Mary retired, you go into coaching. And how was that going into coaching? You became a GA?
Yeah. So I was the junior, and I was our draw person. So that's a big part of lacrosse. Same with face off for guys. Like it happens after every goal. So it's like if you win the draw, it's basically make it take it at that point. So very fundamental, and I was, very interested and I still wanted to be involved on the team, right? Because I put my whole life, like my heart, like soul, my blood, sweat, and tears literally for the past, 10, 15 years. And then it gets, ripped away in an instant. But I was really fortunate that my coaches at Vanderbilt were so like, they are like, we understand how much this means to you, how much this team means to you being on this team. And they asked if I would want a student assist. And it started off my junior year, me kind of just like doing it unofficially on the draw since I was still on the roster and all that. And then when I came back for my senior year, I was officially a student coach. So getting to work with, do the transition, like I said, pretty fast, right? Like I was playing, I got told, you're done, it's over. Like I had, my week of panic of oh my God, I just wrapped my entire identity into this for however long. And that's why it's so important to realize, like, I'm not just a lacrosse player. You're not just that, right? Because
Correct,
things can
correct.
change.
And that's what I tell people a lot. You can't just let sports be your identity. I tell people that all the time, man. And I ask kids that all the time. Hey, what you like doing for fun? Because I'm like, hey, this make sure something else you're doing besides just don't let sports be your identity because it's gonna be over one day. You never know
Yeah.
when it's over. Like you say, you didn't know it was gonna be over. So you gotta have something else in your brain. And I tell people that all the time. Even dealing with my daughter, she's a sports head. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
You
We
got
watch
her doing
football games
everything.
and she loves winning so much, which is
Yeah.
weird. We watched football game last night and she always try to go with the team who win it. She be like, Dad, who we going for? And I say, she like, nah, I'm going for them. So I'm like, why? Because they winning. So I'm like, God dang, girl. But on the flip side of it, she likes drawing, she likes coloring, she's like an artist on the flip side of it, and like a
Yeah.
low key nerd. So I always try to make sure that I just know that I'm like telling her like, hey, you got, that you're not. Don't let sports just be who you are. So okay, you want to be an artist or whatever. Cool. We go to all these art galleries and all this weird stuff. Way out of my brain and pay grade, but she likes doing that. So that's a good thing there. So you became a student assistant. Then did you hop into the GA role, or you just stayed into a student assistant until you
Um,
got the next move?
yeah, I was just a student assistant. So then, like, so for my senior year of college, I was a student assistant. Then I went back and I was originally my plan was COVID year. I had the COVID year of eligibility, so I was gonna fifth year for lacrosse. And then obviously by the time that came to that, I wasn't playing, but I was like, well, I'll stay here, finish up my degree, and also get to coach. So
Correct.
I could have finished like, a semester earlier, but I was like, why am I going to finish in the fall and then be in Nashville coaching and having I was like, I need something to do. I need to
But
be
that's
like,
cool though. You did that
yeah,
because you got that experience.
yeah,
And the two, it puts you in a situation you're in around the program you was around playing, but now you're in the seeing it from the coaching side of it, right?
yeah,
Meetings, all the extra stuff that go on
yeah,
behind the scenes the athletes don't see. Now you say, okay, this is something I want to do, right? This is something because I know when I started coaching, I was like, okay, and I'm like, golly, we have a meeting one more time. And I would coach, our coach was old school, hardcore, hated losing. We would meet on Sundays. We at the school 6 a.m. on a Sunday till 6 p.m. And it's like, hey, we got to get this film, man. We got to, and and this was, and we didn't get it in the next morning. We'd had to crack it done, right?
yeah,
So I'm like, you know what? Much work as it take, but I love doing this. So I'm like,
yeah.
it kind of puts that fire in me. I'm like, this is what I want to do, right? And I did that for a while, and then I kind of got into training and everything and the rest of the world. So you start doing that, and you kind of like, okay, this is something I
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah, and I just enjoyed it. And even though it was really hard for me not to be able to be on the field and playing with, my teammates, obviously, I just felt like I was still very much involved in that. I discovered that like I was good at coaching, right? Because my friends would come up to me and ask me questions like, what are you saying? Because I would, I wasn't always the person who was the loudest voice, right? I would choose my words wisely. So they knew I was going to speak when it, intentionally and only when it matters. So they kind of started off as they would kind of come up to me and all that. And then they would give me feedback, right? And be like, wow, you're really good at this and type of stuff. And then my coaches were also, helping me learn how to coach, right? They were, at the first year it was a little hand holding for sure. And they were, oh, this time you're doing this time you're doing that. And then the second year when I was like second full year on staff type of stuff, we were a well-oiled machine. I was doing all the scouting reports with people. I was cutting film, doing the meetings. Obviously not as much because I was still, kind of on the team, kind of off the team, towing that line. But yeah, it's a grind. Coaching and being in college sports and being involved in just any high level sports in general, it's a commitment and a grind, right? You're working weekends, you're working late hours because it's you. No one else is going to do it for you, right?
That's
Like
true.
if at Eastern, we want to win the MAC championship this year, and I think we're going to. And we say, every day at practice, like, we tell our kids like this is what we're
How
doing it
did you how
for.
did you get to Eastern Michigan though? How did
Yeah.
you get there?
There's for lacrosse, there's this resume bank on the IWLCA, which is basically like the governing body of like college women's lacrosse, and all the coaches are involved in the organization, kind of like, the NFL's Players Association,
Gotcha.
type of thing, or like the, MLB collective type. So my resume was up on the job board and I had been applying to a bunch of places and they actually reached out to me coincidentally. And I had a friend who I coached with at Vandy, who went to Marquette, which is where my other assistant, our other assistant here, went. And so the kind of mutual connection, again, like it's about who you know is really important because then as soon as they reached out to me, I got a text from her on the other end saying, hey, they're interested. They're going to call me to ask about you, as a person, your work style, who you are. Because it matters. Like, being in sports is you work with people. It's about the people.
Yeah,
And
it's the
yes,
people.
it's
Yeah,
about wins and losses, but it's about the people. You can't do it without them, right? Like
true,
I
true,
can't get there as a coach. I can't go out there and do it for them. I have to inspire them to go and do it the way that it should be done, and
true.
helping them along the way and not, like you said, not just pointing out the problem, right? Giving the solution. They know the problem. If someone drops the ball, I don't need to tell them, hey, you dropped the ball, right? You tell them something positive like, hey, you got it next time or something like that just makes such a big impact, which is how I decided, like, I had great coaches, like I said, my whole life. And when I started doing that, that's what I was like, okay, this is what I want. And
So what position? So what position? What's your role at Eastern Michigan University?
so I am our assistant coach and our like offensive, not like coordinator, but our offensive assistant focus. We all do everything. Obviously, I played midfield in college, so I know defense and offense, but offense is more my burning passion. So, I run the offense with our head coach, who's named Madeline Dugan, and then we tag team the offense together. Me and our other assistant, Allison Lane, do the draw together, and then she kind of does the defense with us helping out, right? Because it's
So
one of those
what
things.
school? What teams are in y'all conference? Y'all play against? Just name a few
Um,
off the top of your head.
Central Michigan, Akron, Kent,
Gotcha,
RMU, Robert Morris,
gotcha.
that squad. So we think a solid competition. Like this is going to be our third year of competition, but we had fall ball and all
So
that,
what
and
season?
we're
What
feeling
season
good.
is college lacrosse? When do y'all play? When is the season? What part of the year?
Spring. So we have
Spring.
spring is the actual season. We have a fall season, which is called fall ball, where you're just playing. It doesn't count. Kind of, it's us preparing for
Gotcha.
preseason, right?
So it's
Like
spring
we're getting
season.
everybody on the same page, getting all the systems in. Making sure that people are doing it to the standard of the Eastern Michigan standard that we want to hold like
Gotcha.
our program at and stuff like that.
So let me ask you a quick question. We might have hit this earlier. So does women's lacrosse give full scholarships, or how does that work? Right. My say for example, I have a kid playing lacrosse. Right. I'm training her and her mom, and they, you know how lacrosse is. They going all around the world playing early on club. I'm like, God, where y'all? Are we in here? There? Does spending all this money? Did you? Can you recruit that back? Do you get scholarships? So, for example, you got a kid. I call you. I say, Mikela, I got this girl. She's a beast. I mean, a wolf. She would eat anybody out there on the field. You got any money for her? If I give her information, how does that work?
Yeah, so ours is lacrosse is a percentage sport, so not a head count, right? It's not like basketball where you're on scholarship, you're on a full ride. Lacrosse, we have right now. I think it's like about 15 full scholarships that we can then divvy up amongst the team. But
So, does
that's
it work on how good the athlete is in their
yeah,
performance?
yes. So for lacrosse, if you're our top kid, we're gonna offer you the top amount of money, right? So let's say our roster, our scholarship, when people are graduating, we have $50,000 left total for everybody. If you're our top kid and it costs $10,000, we'll give you pretty much the full ride, right? And then build our class around you. And then even if you're not the top kid, you can still get money. It just is different, right? And lacrosse is unique, like you said. There's not the transfer portal. There's not, there is the NIL, but not the same stature. And it's not this whole like
So you
machine
got so
thing.
it's basically off of how good you are in a way, right?
Yeah.
Like similar to the baseball model. A lot of people don't know
Yes.
baseball is the same way. You got
Yes.
40 people on the team, and there's no full rides, buddy. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't. They're like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "Yeah, if you the elite guy, you might get this amount. If you just you down there, they might pay for your books or something." So
Yeah.
okay, I kind of like that
So
model. Which
so it's percentage based. Yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So
That's
it's
good. That's good to know because a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people
yeah.
just go into sports. Oh, I'm gonna get a full ride. I'm gonna get a full ride. But like, no, every sport doesn't give a full ride. No, not everybody's not like football, right? So it's kind of performance based. So kids and parents out there, right? If you want a lot of money from these schools, you better be a wolf. So you better come and say, hey, we number one. Okay, now the coach can say, okay, cool. Now we can pay for this amount. That's good to know right there. And then of course you probably have academic money and
Yeah.
things like that, right? You know if
Yeah.
they, if they super, geniuses got these, high,
Yeah.
how these scores on that. So boom, so you have Eastern Michigan. How is it adapting to Eastern Michigan? Because it's gonna get cold there real quick,
Yeah.
or if it's not cold already.
Yeah, it's gotten chilly for sure. It's not, the Texas October where it's still 95 degrees out. It's
Yeah, it's
been like
91 here today.
yeah, it's been like 30, 40, 50. So definitely an adjustment, but I love it. All the people at Eastern, you've been here, great facilities, great people. Like
Yeah, nice.
everybody's really committed to being, in working at Eastern Michigan. And then same with the athletes. All the athletes are locked in and are like, this is our school. This is, we're representing. And they all go to each other's game. Like we'll swing by the soccer field to see the game. And like, you'll see the football guys out there, the baseball team, our girls. Like it's just a good community because, college athletics and athletics just in general is it's a special thing. And it's a big, right? It's a game, but it's more than a game at the same time.
Yeah.
So
What does I don't, I always try to say to you, what's the degree there? What's the most popular degree plan at Eastern Michigan University?
We have girls doing all different types. Like we have
For
nursing
real?
majors. We have people who
Oh,
want
yeah,
to
got
do
nursing school
pre-med.
there?
Yeah, nursing
Okay.
school. And then we have people who are doing business and majoring in finance,
Gotcha.
psychology, pilots. So Eastern is super cool because there's about every major you could think of.
Oh,
Like I think there's
that's good
over
to know. That's good to know
200.
because a lot of, I try to tell a lot of people, as they go to the school, make sure. And of course, I tell people most kids don't know, right? You want to do
Yeah,
this, you don't want to do that. So I always try to tell them, like, look up and see what majors they offer. That way, when if you go in, you take your basics first, you can kind of see, okay, I want to do this, do that, and I can start doing. And two, they can lean on people like you who've been through the process, right? Who
yeah,
plays college sports, who went to a major or something and did something that they like. Okay, this is not me. I don't want to be an investment banker sitting here. Yeah, let me figure something out. And I kind of go into the coaching world and things like that. So, and it's kind of cool seeing that. And I always tell people, and I'll come across so many people, and I never forget when I was training you, I knew you was gonna be successful at whatever you choose to do, just because your work ethic and your demeanor every day. It wasn't mom and dad, it wasn't nobody pushing you, it was you, right? As I kind of went on, I started, kind of talking to your dad a little more. Your dad is kind of cool. He sent me these inspirational
videos.
videos about once
Yeah,
a month, which is
yeah,
kind of cool. I like it because the last one he sent me, it was kind of touching in a way because it was something I needed. Your dad is
yeah,
kind of cool. I started knowing him. I had the opportunity to train your sister a few times,
yeah,
who's playing at Vanderbilt right now, who's an
yeah,
athlete. Yeah,
yeah.
y'all just pumping the athletes out like the woodworks over there. I'm guessing your mom probably got the athletic ability. Don't let your dad hear that.
Yeah,
But
my parents were both swimmers, so
yeah, they was okay. Yeah,
yeah.
so they
So
so they have
athletic.
so they have
Yeah,
the good foundation, and they
yeah,
supportive of what you and your sister doing. I always
yeah,
try to tell a lot of parents that be supportive of your kids on their journey because they
yeah.
need that support at home,
It's
regardless of what
definitely
route they're gonna go.
yeah,
Like
it's
you.
definitely you definitely need to be supportive, right? But it's also like you said, I think a big thing is I did it for myself because I wanted to do it and I wanted to be the best. You can't do it for somebody else. Just like you
Nah, you
can't do
can't.
anything for anybody else. It needs to be genuine in what you want to do. Because I still to this day we have morning practice and I'm like I'm tired. We practice at 6:30 in the morning, but I know for me and who I am as a person, I still need to get my lift in. I still need to get my run in. Like I've got to still make sure I'm eating all my meals, getting the
Yep.
protein that I need. Like you've got to make sure that you're doing the little things because how you do one thing is how you do everything type of
Yeah,
thing.
that's true. That's
You
true.
know,
That's true.
so just making sure that you're really keyed in on this is something that I want and this is something that I want to put in the blood, sweat, and tears for because it's a commitment and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. And
fun.
that's
It's
what I
super
try to tell a
special.
lot of kids, especially on the girls' side. Some get it, some don't. I tell people every day, probably the best athletes I train are girls. I tell people every day the hardest work. The ones who get it, they are locked in. The ones who don't, it's kind of tough on them. And I tell them real quick, hey, if you want to be a lead and play college sports, this is stuff you gotta do, which a lot of them do get. And I give them examples that I say, hey, this is who I had, this is what they did, right? I've had some great athletes that came to me fifth, sixth grade and they lived on. Boom. All right, so Kayla, I know you got to go get back to a coach meeting or go find you some lunch or something. So always, as we kind of end the show, I always give people opportunity to ask me a question or two. Anything you want to ask me before we hop off?
Yeah, I guess as somebody who you said you've played or you've coached so many different people who are now coaches, what do you think your role like how do you think you inspired people to then want to go and coach? Because you made a big impact in that decision, right? Because I saw that you were so involved with all the athletes. And, I know you train Ethan Bonner, right, who's on the Dolphins. He was a Woodlands kid, and I don't know him personally, but I know him through your social media, and people, are grinding. So it's like you're inspiring them, and kind of, I guess, like what's your goal in there, and kind of how do you get to inspiring people to then, believe?
I always tell people I had great influence on me growing up in life, and some great coaches I've been around who influenced me, and who 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 was hard on me at times, but then they broke it down to why they was hard and why they was nice at times, and I had great experiences right with them. So as I kind of give back to kids, and I see that they have that in them. For example, you just brought up Ethan Bonner, for example. I remember I trained Ethan. I think he was in the 10th grade, and I knew this kid had it in him to play at the NFL one day. I tell people I know real quick if that person has it in him. It's just something I know because I tell people less than 1% made it. I probably worked over 2,000 athletes in my life from like day one kids who I had early on, and probably five of them made it to the NFL. But all those five had something in them just about them, their demeanor and how they went about business every day, that I knew that they'd one day make it. So a kid like Ethan Bonner, I knew one day if he kept going at it, that he was going to have it in. And a lot of people don't know this. After Ethan graduated from college, he already had a job because he went to Stanford College. He went to University of Stanford. He already had a job in the tech world, making good money. And he wasn't for sure that he was going to play and go try it out for the NFL. And I called him like, hey, Ethan, man, what's the plan? Are you graduating? And he kind of quiet guy. Well, I don't know, D Junk. I got a job. I'm trying to figure it out. Well, I'm like, hey, bro, I've trained you before. I know if you give it a shot, I'm not gonna push you, but I know if you give it an opportunity, right? I have an agent that's interested in signing, and I'm gonna train you, right? I know if you have an
Yeah,
opportunity, I think you can make it to the NFL, bro. I think you got the speed, and you got the size, and you have the demeanor about yourself, and you got the work ethic. Because I remember he had the work ethic, and he was like, all right, man. He kind of quiet guy. All right, D Junk. I'm gonna talk about it. I hit you back. And I think a week later he hit me back and he say, all right, I'm gonna give it a shot. I be home, blah, blah, blah. So we started working out, I think January 6th, all the way to his pro day. Lead up to pro day, we was grinding. I mean, we locked in. Like anybody know Ethan, he gonna show up on time, work early. He gonna show up early, hour early, work out.
yeah,
And we go into it. So we worked out, I think 4 months leaving to his pro day. Gets to his pro day, he performs. It was over 100 NFL scouts there. He goes out there and run a 4.340, Texas out the water. Boom,
yeah,
boom, boom. Next thing you know, right, the Dolphins sign him as a free agent, and he's coming up on year two now in the NFL, and he's on an active roster and everything. And Ethan, I tell people, Ethan will be a 10-year pro. He'll go there, play 10 years, and go into his career. But I say all this, though, he just has something in him that most people don't, that work ethic. And it wasn't no parents. I barely
yeah,
talked to his parents. Parents didn't even talk to them really at all as
yeah,
kind of going. But he had something in him, and just something coaching in me, man. It's just something that I'm passionate about, helping people if they want to help. As I done got older, I'm a little picky on who I train. I just don't have the time no more to train everybody and they mama anymore. I just don't have the time and the hours in my day no
yeah,
more. But if it's somebody who wants it, hey, we're going at it and let's go. Let's go. Let's try to be the best at it. I tell people every day, we're we're not trying to be at the bottom of the totem pole. Let's try to be elite, right? We're trying to be here. Nick Saban said it best. There's a lot of average people in the world, but it's only a few elite people, right? Who wants to, you want to be elite? Be elite. No different than you coaching, right? You want to be the best coach, so you're gonna be the best time man, right? And I tell people that every day, like I like being the best at what I do, right? I tell people you gotta look at yourself sometime and say, hey, you know what? I'm the best, right? And I want to be the best. I'm gonna put a lot of time and energy into what we do, and I try to do that with a lot of kids I train. I try to put a lot into them. I remember me and you worked out. We was on it, for that time we was on it. Like, hey, let's go. Let's do this. Hey, how long to work? I said, ain't no time limit. You ain't got nowhere to go. I ain't got nowhere to go. Let's accomplish our mission and what we trying to accomplish. If you
yeah,
want to be elite, let's put the time in. And a lot of kids, parents get that, some don't, right? So I always try to tell people, if you're going to put your all into it, be elite at it. And I tell my daughter that all the time, like, even though she's only 9, even my oldest daughter, like, you're going to be the best, go all the way into it and try to be the best at it. We're not going half at this because why do that, right? You don't
yeah,
love it, be passionate, go do something else. Go. If you want to draw, or you want to be a video game person, go play video games all day, be able to believe. But it becomes to the passion of what you got into it and the love at it. And my biggest reward is seeing people become successful that I work with. Someone like you who's a coach now. I go back and I be like, and I tell my daughters all the time, like, hey, I used to coach them. I used to train them. And then she kind of gets it now. Hey, Dad, the kids you train on TV, now. I'm like, oh, for real? I'm like, yeah, yeah. So it kind of, it's just rewarding to me, man. I like giving back. It's just some people always gave back to me when I grew up, and I always like giving back to others, man. It's just a rewarding a feeling like that. But I know you got to get to go, Coach, man. Appreciate you having your own, man. This is D Junk signing off from the Sports Resort. Coach Mikela at Eastern Michigan University. Let me see the shirt. I can't see the shirt a little bit.
Let's
Eastern
go.
Michigan,
Go
man, up there,
Eagles.
man.
Go
What's y'all
Eagles.
mascots?
Our mascot, Eagles.
Go Eagles, man.
Yeah.
Hey, have success. Come get some of these Texas girls, recruit them up there.
Yeah.
Just make sure they know, hey, it get cold here in the wintertime, but if you can make it through this, it's gonna be a great school. I can vouch for Coach Mikela, man. She's a great person, great family. Lacrosse head. She gonna practice with you if she can. She gonna throw some balls. Coach will teach you a lot. They have a lot of degree plans at Eastern Michigan University. Great football there, basketball there too, if I'm not mistaken. They got soccer there too.
Yep.
They
Soccer.
got they got every sport.
Yep.
Great campus. It's beautiful in Michigan. Besides the winter, winter is actually nice if you like the snow, but summertime's beautiful. Great golf courses around there. Great experiences. Great coaches, man. Appreciate it having you on today, Mikela. Appreciate it. Peace out. This is DJ signing off from the Sports Resort.